Well, hey friends, this is Jennifer, and this is the Jennifer Allwood Show, the podcast for women who want to find freedom in both their life and in their business. I own a multi-7-figure-a-year coaching business. I'm also a certified life coach. So I have the honor of helping thousands of women every single month make money in the online space and help them to get unstuck from whatever is holding them back, all without sacrificing their faith or their family. In this show, you're going to get the very best life and business advice, always with a healthy dose of Jesus. So buckle in, my friend. I'm so excited that you are here.
Hey guys, how is everyone today? My name is Nell and I am Jen's Director of Operations, and I'm here to do one more podcast episode while Jen is finishing up her podcast break. And I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics of all time, which is financial goals. And some of you might be thinking, why in the world is that your favorite topic? And it's a lot of reasons. I'm a former math teacher, so I love numbers. I love anything that has to do with reports and data and all of that. But two, I have just seen the power of setting goals and how much it helps you to meet them when you look at them through this process that we're going to talk to today. And this process isn't, rocket science. It's not something that, I created, but it is a really great financial goal setting process that will help you take a look at the big picture and then break it down into all the pieces that you need to have in order to be successful. So I'm going to walk you through this process. I'm going to tell you why it's so helpful, give you a little bit of behind the scenes of how it has helped us in our company, and kind of some of how we have been using this process to reach our goals, and then a little bit about what to do if you miss the mark when you set a financial goal and then maybe it doesn't quite happen the way you want it, or you just miss it, because sometimes that happens. So here we go. Let me start with walking you through the process. So if you have a piece of paper, if you have some notes, somewhere you want to take some notes, then here's your chance to get started. But the first thing that you're going to do is write down your goal for 2023 or for, the next year, whenever you're listening to this. But if you're listening to this in real time, you would be writing down the goal for 2023. So whatever that number is. So just for kind of the purposes of this, I'm going to say $100,000. So if your goal is $100,000, you would write that down at the top of the page. So whatever it's looking like for you. Now, when you're like, I don't even know how to set a goal. So one of the things you might do, especially if you haven't even been in business maybe for a whole year yet, look at were you in business for one quarter last year? And if so, can you multiply that by 4 and then increase it by maybe 10%? Or can you look at last year? Were you in business for the whole year last year? Can you look at what you made last year and increase that by 10 or 20%? And any of those math things, there's so many calculators online. Like if you want to say increase 100,000 by 10%, the internet can help you. Google can help you with all of this math if it's not your thing, which is no problem. So, but that's first thing, is picking a number that you want to be your goal for next year. So, or for, this current year, if you're listening, like I said, as this releases. So what is your goal for 2023? So write that big number down. And once again, you want it to be a little bit of a push. You want it to be a little bit of a stretch. If you made, $50,000 this year, then I wouldn't have your goal be 50,000 next year. Maybe it's 55 or maybe it's 60. But what is something that's going to be a stretch, going to be a push? So that's your first thing. Now, the next thing you do is break that down by quarter. So for some of you, that's just going to be dividing by 4. So you take that, you divide it by 4. That's what you're going to want to make each quarter. For others, you might not be equal. You might have some quarters that make more and some quarters that make less. So you're going to need to decide, how do you want to split that up? Do you want to like I said, equally by 4, or maybe you're a fourth quarter heavy business. So maybe you make half of your money in the fourth quarter and then you divide the rest by 3 for your other 3 quarters. So take some time and pick out what you want that to be for each quarter. So then you take it the next step. So see, we started big. We're kind of working our way down into the daily goal, or the action steps you're going to need to take regular basis to make this happen. So we went from annual financial total to how much you want to make each quarter. So obviously, what is next? It is how much do you want to make each month? So take that quarter goal, and once again, is it going to be divided equally by 3? Maybe you're a launch-based business, and so for quarter 1, you're going to have a launch in March. So the majority of your money would come in March. Maybe you're a product-based business and you're selling products on a regular basis. So you just divide it by 3. So if you're if your annual goal is 100,000, and you divide that by the each of the quarters, and then you divide that by each of the months, you end up with what, like 8,300, something like that for each month. So that is kind of where that breakdown comes from. So you should take the big number, divide it by 4, and then divide it by 3, however you need to for your business. Okay. So then we get to this. So it's like, okay, now I know the number. I know that I want to make $8,333 a month, or I know that I want to make, $2,000 a month. Okay, perfect. I'm done. No, we just finally got to the good stuff. So now it's like, how do you make that money each month? So let's say that each month you are trying to make $10,000. I'm picking that just because it's a super easy number for us to deal with. Let's say you're trying to make $10,000. Okay, well, I do a show. I have a side business with my mom where I do vintage market day shows. I do, go to those shows. So let's say that I make $5,000 a show. And if I want to make $10,000 a month, how many shows do I need to do? I need to do 2 shows a month. So if my goal is $10,000 a month, then one of the best ways for me to get there is to do 2 shows a month, because I know on average I make $5,000 a show, if that was the case. So you can take the information you have from previous sales, previous launches, previous years in business, and use that to figure out what you need to do to hit the goals you want to make. So let's say that you have clients and you want to make $5,000 a month, and each client gives you $1,000. So how many clients do you need? You need 5 clients. So you need 5 clients a month. Okay. And based on your past history of closing clients, you close 1 out of every 3 clients. So if I need 5 clients and I close 1 out of every 3 clients, I need to talk to 15 people a month. So maybe on my goals, when I actually get to how am I going to make it happen each month, one of the things I need to do is have 15 calls. Because I know on average, if I have 15 calls, then I'm going to get 5 clients, and those 5 clients are going to get me $5,000. So are you starting to see how you take the information you have and you take this goal that you want and you try to make those 2 things match? Now, some of you might be like, no, I don't have that information. I don't know that I close 1 out of every 3 clients, or I don't know that I would average $5,000 or $10,000 per show. So take whatever information you do have. And if you don't, then take, maybe you might need to Google some of these things based on your industry. What's the average amount of something, whatever it is. Or just start to make a list of things that you think you can do to make that happen. So if your goal is $1,000 a month and you sell wreaths, and you're like, I'm going to sell wreaths and I want to make $1,000 a month. Well, the first thing you have to figure out is, do you have enough inventory? Maybe you need to have more inventory, because if you're going to sell $1,000 worth of wreaths, you have to have enough wreaths to equal at least $1,000, if not more. So if you're just starting out in business, inventory check is a really good first step. Or capacity. So if I'm just starting out and I'm going to be a life coach, and I know that I have 10 hours a week to devote to life coaching, and so I'm starting to get clients. Well, if I have 10 hours a week, but I'm only charging someone $47 and I'm trying to make $10,000, see, I don't have enough. There's not enough hours in the day to make that work. So if you don't have data to kind of make some of these decisions on, then one of the things that you can do is just make sure you have the right amount of capacity and the right amount of inventory, depending on your business. Okay, but you should be asking yourself, so we took that big number, we divided it by quarter, we divided it by month. So now for what am I going to do in each month to make this happen? So ask yourself, like, how many shows do I need to go to? How many transactions do I need to have? If you have any kind of software like Square or Shopify, Shopify website, an Etsy store, any of that, it should tell you your average transaction. So if you sell a physical product, you should know your average transaction, just across all platforms, whatever it may be, so that you can, because that's going to be your starting point. Because your products are probably a variety of different prices, right? So you might have $5 products and $75 products or whatever. So the average transaction helps you realize how many transactions you need to have. So if you know your average transaction is $50, well, then you know how many transactions you need to have in a month to reach your goal. And then you can start working to get that number of transactions. Maybe it's, every time you send an email, you get 4 sales. So how many emails do you need to send? Maybe you know that when you're in person and you talk to customers, the average transaction, you know that it increases, or you have a better chance of, getting a sale when you start conversations. So you need to make sure that you're having those conversations, whatever it may be. We are in control of our sales a lot more than we think. And I say this a lot, and I'm when in our coaching programs here with Jen, I'm one of the coaches that helps in those, and I tell this to our clients a lot. We are in a lot more control of our sales than sometimes we give ourselves credit for. I think sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to set a financial goal. I'm going to make $5,000 a month, and then we just sit and hope for $5,000, and just, oh, no one's buying something. No, people are not going to come running, knocking at your door and give you a pile of cash. That would be great, but that's not how it works. So you have to do the things to get the sales to happen. Do the things like have the conversations, send the emails, make the social posts, put it out on stories, talk about it with places, call and make the ask. You have to be doing those things in order to drive sales. And how much of those things you need to do is going to depend on how much sales you want to make. And the more of those things you do, the more times you send an email and see how many sales you got. The more times you do a social media post and see if you get any, people who want to book a discovery call to use your services. The more times you do that, the more you're going to see these patterns, and this whole process becomes easier. So that is kind of the process. That's the process of setting a financial goal. So we start with this big number, we divide it by quarters, we take that and we divide by months, and then we write the action steps we need to do each month to make that happen. Okay. And, we're going to do a launch. So we want 100 people in the course. So what are we going to do to get 100 people? Well, we're going to send this number of emails. We're going to do 3 webinars. We're going to, you're just making all of these plans to get those 100 people, because we know those 100 people are going to get us to where we need for the goal, whatever that might be. So those are just some examples, just kind of off the top of my head. But the key there is setting the goal is the first step. So we have, some financial goals for the company, for Jen's company. And sometimes we are a little more focused on maybe a certain product or certain offer. But this fourth quarter, we set a really big financial goal. And it's the biggest goal we've ever had as a company. And we are so close. At the time of recording, we are extremely close to hitting it. I don't know if we will, but we're going to be within a very close amount if we don't hit it. But here's what I do want to tell you. Even if we don't hit it, it is still going to be a 40% increase from any other quarter of the year for this year. It's still going to be the best quarter the company has ever had in business. And I don't say that to brag, but I say that because we really did it. Like, that's one reason I'm so passionate about financial goals and setting those. And this whole process is because I know how powerful it is and works. There have been times before where we're like, oh yeah, this is how much we want to make. And then we just go about our daily lives. But this particular quarter, this year, we set the goal. Everyone in the company knows the goal. We check on the goal on a almost daily basis at this point. How close are we? How close are we? What else can we do? And we have these conversations. Oh, we're getting really close. What can we do? A few weeks ago, we were like, let's just kind of open up some, our products for things we already have. What are some products we already have that we can open up for, really push for a week and see what we can do. And so we opened up a couple of products and had a $50,000 in about 4 or 5 days with just products we already had, by sending additional emails, doing some extra social posts, because we're so aware of the goal and we're so aware of thinking about it, talking about it, making it happen. And if we didn't have that goal, we would not be anywhere near this place. So even if we don't reach it, I'm going to consider it a huge win, because like I said, we're 40% higher than any other quarter in today's economy, in Christmas season, in the holidays, when other people might be saying, there's people just don't have the money, or it's just not the good time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are experiencing our best quarter ever. We are experiencing a huge increase. And I can tell you that it's because we have really, really honed in on this process of setting the goal, breaking it down. What do we need to do each month to make this happen? Breaking it down to maybe even each week, and then looking at it, tracking it. Okay, what else can we do? How close are we? What are some other options? Really, really focusing on it. One other example. So last year on New Year's Eve, my family did, we love to do one of those countdowns with balloons. And so my kids get it all set up. When they were little, we used to set it up. Now they're big enough to set it up themselves. So, like at 1:00 in the afternoon, you break a balloon and it tells you what to do. And at 2:00, 3:00. So one of them last year was, we all wrote down some goals on a note card. And I wrote a savings goal, which I had never done before. I had never written down a number. I want to have this X number of dollars in savings by the end of the year. And I didn't reach it. I'm about halfway, but it's more than I ever would have had if I didn't make the goal. So I think that's just something really important for us to remember. Sometimes we're not going to reach it, and that's okay. Because if I hadn't even put any number down, I wouldn't have done any savings this year in this particular manner. So even though I didn't reach what I put down on that note card last year, I'm halfway there. So that brings me to another point of what to do when you miss the mark. So when you miss the mark on a goal, there's a couple of things that I want you to think about. One is, should you push or should you pause? So sometimes we miss a mark and it's like, oh, I just need to push a little bit more. So I'm going to do the same goal and I'm going to push a little bit harder. Sometimes we need to pause, meaning, you know what? I don't know that that's the right goal for me. I'm not sure that this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So I need to pause and reevaluate. So when you don't meet a goal, are you going to push or are you going to pause? And then the other thing that I want you to think about is you're just not there yet. So for me personally, in my savings goal, I need to push. I do not need to pause. We need more savings. So I know that I didn't quite reach it, but I need to keep pushing. So I'm going to tell myself I didn't get it yet. But I have another year. I have another year to try, and I'm going to keep that same goal. Even though I got half of it this year, I'm going to keep that same goal, and I'm going to see if I can get that goal next year. And for the company, we have our annual retreat that we're getting ready to do, and we're going to set quarterly goals, and we're going to break those quarterly goals down to monthly goals, and we're going to break those monthly goals down into action steps we need to make each of those happen. And as we go throughout the year, we'll make adjustments as we need to. If one quarter makes a little bit less, we'll adjust in a different quarter. If one product is really killing it, we might adjust because it's like, this is the product that we really need to push harder on, and maybe a different product we need to pause a little bit on as we go through the year. So we'll have all of these things kind of in our back pocket as we go through the year to see what we need to do to meet these goals. There's a lot of different tools you need to have. Do I need to push? Do I need to push or pause? Tool. Do I need to, what are some things I can do to make adjustments? Like I said, there's all kind of tools we'll have at our disposal as we go through the year. But the step one is this process that I talked you through today, this process of taking this big number, dividing it into the quarters, dividing it into the months, and then what are the action steps that you're going to do to make it happen. So like I said, love this process. I recently walked through this process with our members of our inner circle. And those ladies are getting ready for their 2023, walking through this process. So if you enjoy this, you enjoy other kinds of coaching like this, you would love our inner circle. Jen has live Q&As in there. We have bonus trainings, things like this. We have a progress planner that helps you track everything throughout the year. All of these things in our Creators Inner Circle. So if you're interested in joining us in our Creators Inner Circle, please go to creatorsinnercircle.com/get-in. The link will also be in the show notes. So I hope that y'all enjoyed this time. I hope that you are geared up and ready to go with some big financial goals for 2023. If you need any help with making those things happen in your business, we would love to have you as a client in the company. And Jen will be back very soon with kind of back to our normal podcast routine. And I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Friend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast again this week. I'm so honored that you come back for every episode and that you share the Jennifer Allwood Show with your friends and family. Every time I see you guys post about it on Instagram or Facebook or something, it just makes me do a little happy. So thank you. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast if you never want to miss an episode. So you can go to Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or any of the other podcasting places and subscribe each week so that every week you get the new episode when it releases. So just know that I love bringing you relevant content. I love bringing you great guests. And one of the ways you can help us here at Team Allwood is by leaving the podcast a review. So if you have just a second to do that, would you go over and leave a review for the Jennifer Allwood Show? Thank you again. You're amazing. I'm honored to be here. Until next week. Bye-bye.